welcome into Breaking Bet here on this Wednesday, September 24th. Really appreciate everybody for tuning in as we do here on Breaking Bet every Wednesday. We get a little midweek look at the slate for the upcoming week. My boy Brad Thomas is unable to make it. He is out this week, so I got my guy PJ Glasser, big incubator guy, go way back with this kid all the way from the motherland of NBC Sports. PJ, how you doing tonight, buddy? Thank you for joining.
Johnny, I'm doing good, man. Appreciate you having me. Big sports weekend, brother. I mean, Ryder Cup and golf, huge college football slate, NFL slate week 4. So excited to talk some NFL with you.
Absolutely. And, look, it's a lot of fun and games on this show, and we have a great time talking football, baseball, college baseball, anything really. But, look, man, I think a lot of us can agree that the gambling space is not just a community, but it's a family in a lot of regards. And we lost a dearly beloved member of our family, Dave Sharapan, Sportsbook Consig, a very good friend of mine. PJ, I know he had an influence on you as well. Every time I went out to Vegas the last 4 or 5 years or so, Dave and I, I'd always make it a priority to see him and chat with him, and we'd always talk about gambling and how things were going with families and life stuff. So on Sunday, I didn't find out until after we did our Sunday morning show. So condolences, heart, minds, prayers go out to Dave and his family. This is a really big loss for the community, PJ. He was a really great guy. Nothing but positive things to say about him, and definitely gave me a lot of perspective and mentorship on this space as I continue to grow throughout the years.
Well said. Yeah, man. Dave was a great guy. It's been cool seeing everybody reach out and share their stories, but it's all the same reviews, right? I mean, people are all saying the same thing about what a great guy he is. What you saw with him when he was on TV or was when he were doing hits. That's what he was behind the scenes. So, well said, Johnny. Echo all your sentiments. All the best to him and his family. And just thankful we got to meet Dave, man. He was a great guy.
Yeah, that's one of those people you come across in life that you don't forget. A lot of people are just faces in a crowd, but he wasn't that. No matter what was going on, he always took time out of his day, whether it was a phone call or stop by at Circa or any of the casinos in Vegas, and you wanted to just shoot the shit with them. Whether it was about betting or something else, he took time out of his day. He was always happy to talk to you, and he really was one of the great ones. He was a real one for sure. So, Dave, we miss you, buddy. Thoughts and prayers with you and your family, and just tell the people that you love in your life. Tell them you love them every day, because you really never know.
Well said, man.
But PJ, we got week 4 here in the NFL, buddy. We're almost about 25% of the way done here. That's the thing about the NFL. Once it starts getting going, each week goes like that. It's quicker and quicker. And we're already at week 4 here. This is starting to be the turning point on a lot of teams. Some of these teams that might have started out slow, that they're trying to avoid going 1-3, or they're trying to make an early season statement. What are you expecting from week 3 in the NFL this week or week 4?
Yeah, I mean, look, there are going to be some interesting games. I think there are 3 games to me that kind of jump out. The first one is the battle of 3-0 teams between the Eagles and the Bucks. Both of those teams are undefeated, but I mean, Johnny, both of those teams could have lost all their games, right? Or at the very least 2. Certainly Philly got fortunate last week. Tampa got fortunate against Atlanta and Houston. They were trailing to the Jets in the final couple minutes. So watching those teams go against each other, Tampa's been a house of horrors for Philly. They have really struggled there over the last couple of years. So excited for that one. The Colts have probably been the best. They've been the best story so far in the NFL up to this point. So watching them against the Rams, who look like one of the best teams in the NFC, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then you mentioned, teams trying to avoid going 1-3, the Ravens and the Chiefs, 2 teams that were Super Bowl favorites at the beginning of the year, borrowing a tie. One of them is going to drop to 1-3. So watching those 2 teams in a high stakes game in late September is going to be fun at Arrowhead.
Yeah, man, I think you hit the nail on the head. You kind of got a little bit of everything with that in terms of like the importance of the matchups here. And, listen, it's not really a must win for a lot of teams. I think we can both fully expect Kansas City and Baltimore at the end of the year. They're going to be in the playoffs somehow, some way. They're going to find their path there. Look, Peach, I think when you're starting to get into this territory, we're getting a glimpse of maybe some of these teams that are underachieving or overachieving. This is who they are going to be in the year of our Lord 2025. And, listen, we have a couple of those teams that we're going to talk a little bit later, but this Thursday night matchup's interesting. Now, on the preseason show, I was high on Seattle. Seattle was picked to finish last in the division. They had the worst odds to win the NFC West. And quite frankly, I didn't agree with it. And the trendy dark horse team that we've kind of seen the last couple of years in the NFC was the Arizona Cardinals. Like that was the 2025 version of the Green Bay Packers. The Packers were the trendy NFC dark horse coming into 2024. This is kind of what the Cardinals were to some degree. And, look, I think the Cardinals have talent, but I didn't necessarily buy it. I was big on Seattle because I thought their defense was going to be really good. JSN was going to take the step this year. They got a good running game. And I thought Sam Darnold, if he could bring even a shred of what he had in Minnesota, that they were going to be a team that was able to contend in the NFC West and, make a bid for a playoff spot. And here they are, early season divisional tilt in Arizona. Seattle had an absolute ass beating on the New Orleans Saints on Sunday, whereas Arizona found a way to lose in San Francisco, a game that they very well should have won. The Seahawks are a 1.5-point favorite on the road. What's your early look here on this one, Peach?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some line movement, Johnny. Seattle opened up as a small road dog, and then now they're the favorite. They've taken some money today, so just about every shop, they're favorites right now. And that's the way I would lean in the game is Seattle to win. I'd probably just take them on the money line. Mm-hmm. But look, I was with you. I was higher on Seattle than the market was at the beginning of the season. I'm a big fan of their head coach, Mike Macdonald. I think he is a defensive mastermind, and Seattle's got one of the best defenses in football. They're the only team up to this point that hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown. And they were great in these matchups against Arizona last year and really gave Kyler Murray fits. They held him to 6 points and 18 points in their two matchups. So this is just a bad matchup for Kyler and Arizona. I always like betting Seattle on the road, Johnny. Last year, they won 7 games on the road, 3 games at home. We all think of Seattle as this great home field environment, and it is, and it normally is. But recent years, and especially last year, they were not a good home team, but they were great on the road. We've already seen them go to Pittsburgh and win this year. So anytime Seattle's on the road, I'm always intrigued by them. I'm always looking to bet them. And I feel like Arizona is definitely a little fraudulent as a 2-1 team, where I still think Seattle is there's some value there. I still think maybe they could win this division with all the injuries that the Niners have. I kind of think it's going to come down to Seattle and the Rams potentially. So haven't made a bet on this game yet, but I am leaning towards Seattle.
Yeah. Look, I typically don't like betting Thursday games. I'm not a fan of the short week, and a lot of guys aren't as focused as they would be when they have a full week off and practices, and it's just everything is so condensed. But I think in this spot, Seattle, like you said, they were able to play Arizona really, really well. And let's be honest, man, Seattle kind of, they were messing around in that game against San Francisco week 1. I took Seattle that game, and they had about 10 different chances to win. I think Mike Macdonald played a little bit scared in that one. About 3 minutes to go on, I think, San Francisco's 30, something along those lines. 10-10 game. He elects to kick the field goal instead of trying to go for it and bleed the clock and even go for a touchdown that probably could have put the game away. Long story short, they lose, but they've bounced back very nicely. Back-to-back weeks, they put up 30-plus in their last 2. And now against Arizona, who, you just lose James Conner. Now Trey Benson, Amari DiMercado, they're going to try and fill in that run game. But really, the pass game for Arizona is just incredibly inconsistent. Marvin Harrison, I don't know what's going on there. This guy's, at this point, it's become psychological. They just don't have a lot going on. Kyler Murray really hasn't looked like the guy you would expect to take the leap. He's been decent for sure, but not to that level. I'm going with Seattle here, man. I think they are a very good team, and if Sam Darnold keeps playing good ball and picking up where he left off last year, JSN is a machine. Every week I'm betting his catch over, and the only reason it didn't hit last week was because it was such a blowout that he pretty much didn't play in the second half. I think JSN, who I gave out preseason on this show at 20-1 to lead the league in catches, is absolutely live for that. This year. So 6.5 catches, by the way, minus 144. I'm pretty much looking at betting his over catches just about every week.
Yeah, I think that's a good look. I'll have to look into the prop market, see if I like anything. Charbonnet, I think, is supposed to be back. If he's not, then I'll probably look at Kenneth Walker. When one of those guys are banged up, Seattle really leans on the other guy. So if Walker's hurt, Charbonnet gets a huge usage, and then vice versa, like last week against New Orleans, Charbonnet's out, Kenneth Walker gets a heavy workload. So if Charbonnet's out again, I think Kenneth Walker's worth a look. But as of right now, I kind of just lean Seattle. Nothing for me on the total. 43.5. I think that's a fair price. But I'm with you, man. It would be Seattle or pass for me in the game.
100%. All right. We're going our first early game of the year. I absolutely hate international games. I can't even tell you how much I can't stand them. It is going to be Minnesota at Pittsburgh. Minnesota, man, that was free against Cincinnati. What an effort by the defense. What an effort by Jordan Mason at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh squeaked out a win in New England. Peach, I'll let you start this one off.
So Minnesota, when this game opened, Johnny, I mean, you could have gotten the Vikings at minus 118, minus 120. They've taken some steam. Darisaul's back at practice, so it looks like he's going to be in there, which is obviously huge, having one of the best tackles in football. And the Steelers, I mean, they're 2-1, but very easily could be 0-3. Fortunate to win the Jets game. Last week, New England turns the ball over twice in the Pittsburgh end zone. I mean, they had every opportunity to win that game, but this is what the Steelers do. You know, we handicap these teams, and we look at teams that have been fortunate to win games, that are lucky, that are due for regression. I think Pittsburgh, Johnny, is the one team you just have to accept, like, this is what they are, right? I mean, this is what they do every year, where we look at that roster, we look at how they get outgained so many times, how they lose the turnover battle, but they just find ways to win. And going up against a quarterback like Carson Wentz, I think is a good matchup for Pittsburgh, because he's one of those quarterbacks that they can exploit. And Wentz and the Vikings had such a great performance against Cincy that I think maybe they're a little bit overvalued right now, going up against this Pittsburgh team that's kind of limping into this game. And the defense certainly has not been what a lot of us thought it would be early on in the season. I haven't bet it yet. I'm waiting to see if we can get a 3. If we get a 3, I'll be on Pittsburgh. At 2.5, I still probably lean towards the Steelers. But look, I mean, these international road favorites, I think they're hitting it like a 65% clip. Usually when you play these international games, Johnny, it's just the better team wins and covers most of the time. I do think Minnesota is better, but I don't know if they're 3 points better. So if we get a 3, I'll be on Pittsburgh. But as of now, no play for me.
All right. So here's we're going to differ on this. I understand what you're saying about Pittsburgh. I do, but just top to bottom, the roster it's okay. Like it's good enough to be like an 8-win team, maybe 9 if some variance goes their way. Playoff potential, sure. Aaron Rodgers, I still think he's got some juice in the tank. I think he's kind of revitalized. He was just so mentally out of it last year with the Jets. So of course, them winning this game is no surprise. I do agree with the sentiment that Minnesota is a bit overvalued because of what they did to Cincinnati. And I'm separating that from my handicap. Sure, it's nice to go look at what their defense looked like, and they're able to shut down Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. But the truth is, man, like Jake Browning against that defense, that's why, to me, 3 points for Minnesota was always a little weird at home. Like, I know the Carson Wentz factor, like, hey, but let's be honest, Carson Wentz is a guy who was an MVP potential player 10 years ago. And I know that's a long time, but he was a starter in this league for a while. So at the bare minimum, he's able to be a captain of the ship, rely on the ground game. Jordan Mason, we've seen, from last year when McCaffrey was out, he's capable of handling 20 carries and doing something with it. You got the best receiver on the planet in Jettas, and you have arguably the best defense in football. Ultra aggressive. Brian Flores may have not been a great head coach, but that guy knows how to run a defense. So my big thing here, again, the same handicap that I had talking about last week's game with Minnesota versus Cincinnati is we might not know what the Minnesota offense does. We might not know what the Pittsburgh offense does. We might not know what the Pittsburgh defense does, but we know what the Minnesota defense is going to do. That's the one constant that I believe in the Minnesota Vikings and why they're usually a matchup advantage over almost any offense that they're going to face. And I think 2.5, I'm not even gonna look at betting that. I'd rather lay the extra $32 on the money line because I think the Vikings are the better team. I'm not rushing to the window to bet it, but for me, it's Minnesota because I think they have more ways to win.
I think it's all fair. I agree. If you were to bet Minnesota, then I would just take the money line, especially a low total game like this at 41. And the Steelers sometimes tend to play some wonky games. So, yeah, I mean, look, I understand why people like Minnesota. They've gotten bet up in the game. For me, it'd be a numbers play on Pittsburgh if we get to 3. I don't think it does. I just worry about Carson Wentz in a game like this. He's one of those quarterbacks, can look great one week. You just don't want to be on the side of the Vikings when Carson Wentz has that multi-turnover game. And whenever you go up against Pittsburgh, man, it's just they bring it out of these teams. So that's just the concern that I have.
No, it's a fair concern. It is because I understand that. That's why I'm not rushing to the window to bet it. All right, big game here. It lost a bit of its luster. Mike Evans is facing a multi-week absence with the hamstring injury. Luckily, it's not believed to be as serious as the one last year, but the result is the same. It looks like he will miss this game against the defending world champion Philadelphia Eagles. Tampa Bay had them in a blender down in Florida last year. This is almost the time. This is one of those times where I wish I was still living in Tampa instead of South Florida for this kind of game. But nonetheless, it'll be a good game here. Chris Godwin, TBD on his status. It looks like he's very close to working his way back. But it looks like Emeka Egbuka, the standout rookie through 3 weeks, should slot in as the wide receiver 1. Now, PJ, without Mike Evans, Tampa being a home 3.5, how does this change your handicap?
Yeah, 3.5 I think is the right line. Earlier in the week when it was Philly -3, I thought that was a play on the Eagles. Now that you're getting the hook, I don't think I would lay that with Philadelphia because, Johnny, it just feels like the Eagles are kind of turning into the Chiefs that we've seen the last couple of years where they don't care about style points. They don't care about covering spreads. They just find ways to win games, and they have that ability to do so. And again, look, Tampa's just been a tough place for them. You mentioned the regular season game last year, the playoff game the year before. They got embarrassed. And then when Brady was there, they lost to that game. So if there is one team, one place over the last few years that has really given Philly trouble, it is the Bucs, and it has been in Tampa. But they know that. So they're going to be ready to go. It's a battle of 3-0 teams. It could be a big game for NFC playoff standings down the road. With Philly, when you're getting these type of numbers, I just like playing them on the money line. I think they're a good money line parlay piece with somebody else on the board. Tampa's just too banged up for me, Johnny. You mentioned the Evans injury. McMillan's still out. We'll see what ends up happening with Wirfs and Godwin, like you were mentioning. But Baker in that Jets game was shaking his hand a couple times. They are just beat up. So Philly is a little healthier at this point, and I just think they're going to find a way to win this game, like they have done the last 20 games, it feels like. So I like the Eagles on the money line.
On the money line. Throwing a money line parlay?
Yeah.
I hate to say it because I really like Tampa. Tampa was a team that preseason I was talking about. I like them to win the NFC. I think they can get to the Super Bowl. I think Tampa and the Rams are built very similar. The Rams played a good game for the most part last week, and they just fell apart. But ultimately, I think the injuries at Tampa could catch up to them. The 3.5, I'm probably leaning like 55% to Tampa plus 3.5. I think Philly is probably closer to 55% to win outright. I want to do a little bit more research on what the injury status is on some of these guys, but I do lean taking Tampa at home with the 3.5. For just you get a guy like Baker Mayfield, man. This guy finds a way. He just finds a way.
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia, I mean, look, you got all the talent in the world, but they haven't played very good football. They could have easily lost to Dallas. They probably should have lost to the Rams. And, look, you can make the case that Tampa Bay may have lost to Atlanta. They may have lost to Houston. The Jets game, I don't really know what the hell happened. That pissed me off, by the way, because I was on Tampa minus 6.5. They're up 17 in the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden things unravel. And then my favorite is the blocked field goal to go up 9, and it returns for a touchdown. I can't tell you how mad I was watching that live. I almost threw the TV out the window. I'm like, what's going on? But I like Tampa with the 3.5. I slightly lean Philly money line, but I'm pulling for Tampa. But I think with health wise, it favors Philly a little bit more to win this game outright.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those games. It's about the number. Like you said, you're 55% towards the plus 3.5. If it's 3.5, I too would lean Tampa. I think if it goes back down to 3, though, I think I would probably side with Philly.
Yeah. All right, we have our first large and in charge spread. This was 16.5. Yesterday, it's come down. This is down from 16.5 to 15.5 full point. Some buyback on New Orleans, who they are a very big underdog at Buffalo. PJ, when I was growing up and I started getting into betting when I was an early teenager, my dad taught me a lesson. When it comes to these numbers. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Take the small, lay the big. And our boy Corey Parson knows that because I told him the same thing. Because I'm like, look, you get these big numbers. That's a lot of points. Lay the big. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. I'm laying the big with Buffalo, not just because it's what my dad taught me, but I think X's and O's wise. Like New Orleans went on the road last week. They played 2 tight games against Arizona and San Francisco at home in the comforts of the dome.
Yeah.
And look, hats off. They got some playmakers, but now you're going up to Buffalo on the road. Now it's late September. Weather starts getting a little bit colder up there in Buffalo, and you're going to get the MVP in Josh Allen.
And the Bills are coming off a long week too, right? Played on a Thursday.
Mini bye, 10 days. I know this is a very big number, but I mean, X's and O's wise, like where would you be betting New Orleans? Like what would possess you? The only shot they have, and I said the same thing about Seattle, and I laid Seattle 7.5 last week against the Saints, is if Shaheed or Olave have like a couple big plays that are game breakers.
That's the thing. Buffalo is still so banged up on defense that you're just hoping that somehow the Saints are able to make some plays offensively. I'm not touching the spread. I mean, betting New Orleans would just be no fun because they're not going to win the game. We know Buffalo's going to win the game. There's just a question of how many points they're going to win the game by. I think my only bet in the game, Johnny, would probably be the over at 48 because I think the Bills are at least getting 30 points, 34 points. So I'm looking at it. Can New Orleans get us 14? Can they get us 17? Can they somehow do that? The Seattle game was weird just because of the special teams blunders that happened in the first quarter. And when that happens and you just like blink and you're down 21-0, I mean, things just unravel. So when you're a big underdog, when a team just hits you with an avalanche like that and they have those explosive plays, things just kind of unravel. If the Saints are able to just take care of the ball, maybe go on a nice first drive of the game, take 6-7 minutes off the clock, I think they can settle in and maybe try and do what Miami did and keep it a little competitive. I understand Miami's a better team. They have better offensive players. But I just think that Seattle game, I really don't look at it too much because, Seattle had 2-3 massive special team plays. It just kind of made the game out of reach. I think we see some points in this one. The Saints won't be able to stop Buffalo. And if the Bills are up, 21, 24 points in the fourth quarter, they start pulling some guys. Saints could get us some garbage points. That's the way I would look at the game. Would probably be the over if I had to play something.
Where would you be comfortable playing the Buffalo team total? To?
Oh,
So
what
it's
the
set
number
about
would
31
be?
it's set about 31.5 right now.
Yeah, I like that over. I think that's fair.
If you were inclined to take like an all over just for the fun of it, would you look at 39.5 to the over at plus 285? Put up a 40 beam
on them. I don't know if they get that high. I think they get into the 30s would be my guess probably. What's the Saints team total? Is it about 16.5?
Yeah, 16.5.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I'd rather go Buffalo's team total if I had to bet it. But I don't hate New Orleans' team total either. I do think they're going to be able to score a little bit because Buffalo's defense is so bad. And if this game is out of reach, then the Saints could score some garbage points.
I put it to you this way, right? 15.5 means are they going to win by 16 or not? It would be very surprising to see Buffalo cover the spread and score under 31 points. It's definitely possible. There's a path, but just probability-wise, that means they're going to be scoring in the mid-30s in order to have a shot to cover this. Sure. Because even New Orleans' offense should be able to put up 16 to 17 points. It's, considering what Buffalo's defense looks like right now, especially in the secondary. You never know. It could shape up as like a 31-14 game, which would be a 17-point victory. That's really where, you could take a look at it. But I think that's probably the direction I will go is Buffalo team total. But to be honest, I still think they could cover the spread. But you got to worry about the back door because
are you using Buffalo in Survivor this week?
I didn't do Survivor this week. I didn't do Survivor this year.
Oh, okay.
I didn't do it because of the move. Like I moved to South Florida in July and I was getting set up with, everything down here and just flying out to Vegas really just wasn't on my priority list. But next year I'm going to be in it. But listen, I think to be honest, if you have Buffalo available, you use them.
I have them available. I'm using them. Look, we know their schedule's easy, but I'm going to use them this week. So.
It's all about surviving in advance.
That's exactly right. Right.
Listen, if you have like five plus entries, you could take a shot somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But take it from me, I'm somebody who's made a very deep run in Survivor, Circus Survivor. Not to be like, hey, yeah, check out my high school football tape from 20 years ago. But it's all about surviving and advancing.
Right.
And that's it. And if you have a rocking chair winner, take it and just do the handicap the next week. Because what happens is a lot of times people try to get cute or try to steal one and they get clipped.
Yep.
And they're like, why didn't I just take Buffalo? It was so easy.
I agree. That's why I'm on the Bills. So,
all right, Cleveland, Detroit. So I did my RotoWire video yesterday. It was 8.5. In my handicap, I said, I like the Lions 8.5. I think this is going to get out to 9.5, potentially higher by the time Sunday kicks off. A day later, we're at 9.5 on one book, and we're at 10 on DraftKings. This is moving up very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, where do you stop wanting to lay it with Detroit?
I think at the number that you got at 8.5, I think at 10, I like Cleveland in the game, to be honest with you. I honestly, Johnny, I'm excited for this game. I really am, because Detroit manhandled Baltimore. They could not stop their run. They're not going to be able to do that against the Browns. They're not going to be able to do it against Myles Garrett, that front four, that defense. They're not going to be able to do it. So that chess match of, is Detroit going to be able to run? Is Cleveland going to be able to stop them? It's strength on strength. So I'm excited to watch that. And if the Browns are able to make them a little one-dimensional, I'm thinking like Jameson Williams props are the play in this game. You know, like the Ravens weren't able to run the ball with Henry against Cleveland. So then Lamar's airing it out to D-Hop and Zay Flowers and Tez Walker. Like these guys are hauling in long receptions. So I think JMO longest reception could be a good look. Amon-Ra longest reception. Like I think that's what it is against the Browns, man. They're just so stout up front. You're really not going to be able to run against them, but you can hit them with some explosives in the pass game. And especially when Detroit's at home in that dome, man. I mean, they can put up points on you in a hurry, as we all know. So I think at 10, now that we've gotten to 10, we've gotten to a key number, I'm intrigued by Cleveland. And I think this could be a buy for me on the Browns. But I think my favorite plays in the game, whenever Jameson Williams' longest reception pops up, whenever we get that, let me see if I can find Jameson Williams, 21.5. I'm going to be on that. That's probably my favorite play from this game, is going over on his longest reception.
So my thing is, if you like Cleveland, I wouldn't be betting it right now. I don't think this number's done moving.
Really?
I mean, it's moving a little bit more than I thought. Like, okay, it was 8.5 on Tuesday night. It's 9.5 on Wednesday. It's split even -110. I'm talking about FanDuel. All these numbers that you see is on FanDuel. I like to keep it uniform, but as always, you want to shop around. You want to get the best of the number always. The reason why I don't think it's done moving is because I feel like a lot of people are going to be saying the same thing we are. Hey, Detroit manhandled Baltimore. They look really good. And yes, they're on a short week, and they're facing a Cleveland team that's probably due for a regression. They beat the Packers. They were down 10-0. Look, I completely understand it, but I just think there's a lot of love on the Lions right now. And considering the movement, when you see an adjustment that drastic that early in the week, there's a good chance it's not done. Like we might see a 10.5, possibly an 11. Good. I'm not saying that's a foregone conclusion. I'm just saying that's possible. Like we're sitting here on Wednesday night. I probably wouldn't start really looking at betting Cleveland until Friday night, maybe Saturday afternoon. And look, maybe it comes down a little bit and there's some buyback on Cleveland and it knocks the line down. But you know, at this juncture, it's worth it, in my opinion, to see that happen. And I get what you're saying. Like the Browns front, they can handle business. But what I want to know, Cleveland might be able to slow down the Lions' run game because the Ravens and the Browns, they are built a little bit differently on defense. However, the Browns have not seen a back like Jahmyr Gibbs this year because it's not just about what he does on the ground, it's what he does out of the backfield. And now you've got Amon-Ra. You've got Laporta over the middle eating it up. You got JMO. And then Montgomery can still play smash mouth on you. But then let's not forget the Lions defense looked really good. Like they completely shut down the Ravens in the second half. I mean, I don't know if Lamar was hurt or not, but he looked honestly not as, I'm not saying slow, but not as fast as he usually does. Mm-hmm. They were getting after Lamar and company all night long. And I don't know if Cleveland's going to be up to the par. Like their offense does not look good at all. This is the same team that got blown out at Baltimore, and Baltimore did not play a good game in week 2, and they still won by 25 points.
Sure.
I'm leaning the Lions here. It might be public, it might be Joe, it might be Trap, whatever you want to call it. I just think Detroit, I think there's a lot of ways for them to beat the Browns here.
Another point I'll bring up, do you worry about a Lions emotional hangover at all, right? It's something you always have to fear in the NFL when you have as big a win as Detroit did, where, I mean, you're in prime time, on the road, the highest power-rated team in the NFL, one of the Super Bowl favorites, a team that embarrassed you 2 years ago. I mean, the Lions circled that game. Like we all saw how badly they wanted it. Dan Campbell was going for it on 4th down. I mean, he normally does that, but he was absolutely going for it in that game. Now they come back home as a big favorite. I mean, like the way Detroit started the season, Johnny, it was divisional opener against the Packers in Lambeau. Ben Johnson coming back to Detroit. Ravens on the road. I mean, those are 3 big games with either revenge factor, division implications, and now you come back home against one of the worst teams in the NFL and you're laying 10 points. Like it makes me a little nervous to lay that many points with the Lions when it feels like potentially coming off that much of a high against this defense could be a little problematic potentially.
Listen, I get it. I understand that. I think in most cases, I would agree with you of the emotional letdown, but Dan Campbell's not that guy. He's not like that. It's always pedal to the metal with him. He's not. He's pretty good at keeping his guys focused and not letting things get sloppy and lazy. I mean, it's not an official play, but 8.5 is something I was good with. 9.5, I'm probably going to wait a little bit more to see if there is some buyback on Cleveland, but I am leaning with the Lions here. I just think there's a lot of ways for them to win. I mean, listen, if you're a parlay bettor, if you're looking at taking some alt spreads, maybe you can take Cleveland up to like 15.5, 16.5, because that's a lot of points. But in terms of the actual game, I'm leaning Lions a little bit. But let me tell you something. And I was on this last week. Quinshon Judkins. I told Brad on Sunday at 2:55, I like Judkins was getting in the end zone. And the reason I said that, I'm like, I have to take it because say he gets in the end zone, what's going to happen next week and the week after? 2:55, kid's getting the volume. He's got the talent. He's got the juice. That number is going to go from 255 to probably 125. Now I'm curious to see what that looks like. Judkins is somebody that I'd be interested on to get in the end zone as well. I know they did a good job against Derrick Henry, but I think the Cleveland offensive line can do enough here to get Judkins going. All right, Tennessee gets the Texans. Which team will go 0-4 and essentially end their season? PJ, I hate this for the Titans because I like them coming into this year. Love Cam Ward. I liked Brian Callahan as a Coach of the Year candidate. But this is it's about to be closing time if they lose. They're a 7.5-point dog at Houston. They've played some divisional opponents. They looked good in some capacity. Denver week 1, that was a well-fought game. The Rams, they lose by 14 at home, but that was not as indicative of the game. They were up 3 in the second half. Then last week, it just kind of fell apart against Indy. But Houston, their defense is really good, but are they good enough to be laying 7.5 points?
No. Especially not in a divisional game. Johnny, are they even going to score 7 points? Like I joke, but I mean, with this offense, dude, that's my fear. I mean, I don't want to lay 7 with an offense that's that bad. And now they're 0-3. I mean, this is a team that's won the division the last 2 years, that's won a playoff game each of the last 2 years. And now their season's pretty much over and they kind of know it. And it feels like that. I mean, I don't want to say the Texans are going to quit, but Houston has the feel of like Denver with Russell Wilson, the Jets with Zach Wilson, a great defensive team that they just know their offense is just not going to score. And at some point, you as a team, it just wears on you. Now, we're still a little early on the season for that, but I think it's just something long-term to keep an eye on with Houston. But every year, man, they're good for one of these games where they lose it outright. They're a big favorite at home, going up against a bad team in the league, and they tend to lose. And even though Tennessee, they're 0-3, I mean, they've played the Rams, they've played the Colts, like they've played Denver. I mean, they've played some good teams. And they've looked good at moments in those games. I like Cam Ward. It's got to be the Titans for me, Johnny, especially getting the 7, man. I think the Titans got to be a play. So I do like Tennessee. And to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if this closes at like 6.5.
Yeah, it's Tennessee or pass for me. Listen, at the end of the day, we could sit here and say, well, the Titans haven't looked good. That's true. But the thing about the Titans, they are a work in progress. We've seen flashes of, hey, this is going to work. It's just putting it all together. You have a rookie quarterback, and you have a roster that I still think isn't bad. I think it's solid. And I thought Cam Ward was going to elevate it. He's made some dumb mistakes for sure. I mean, he's a rookie quarterback, but I don't think it's a bad team. Whereas Houston, with a quarterback in his 3rd year that won Rookie of the Year, with a defense that's really good, with a top 10 receiver, they've looked anemic.
Yes.
Not an ounce of competency on offense outside of like the first drive against Tampa Bay on Monday night. What are we doing? The only way I think Houston wins and covers this game is if their defense has a couple touchdowns. That's it.
Which could happen.
Yeah, absolutely could happen. But I think this is, to me, a Tennessee or pass. And I got to be honest, dude. I think the under's in play here.
Could be, man.
38.5. That might not be low enough.
I mean, look, Houston's been a dead under team so far. Yeah, I think that's fair, but I do like Tennessee. I think I'm probably going to sprinkle some money line too, because I think there is a chance that they win, but I definitely am going to bet them +7 for sure.
Solid teaser leg too, getting 13.5 right now.
I like that.
Chargers traveling east. I'm actually going back to Jersey this week. I won't be able to make this one, but I would have. Chargers at the Giants. The big news is that washed up has-been loser Russell Wilson is riding pine the rest of the way. It's going to be first rounder Jackson Dart. Peach, I am excited about this. I was hoping Dart was going to start the season. I'm not a college football enthusiast like you. I'm more of a casual, but I started betting a lot more college football last year. And in doing so, obviously you learn more about teams and players in the league because you're more invested. And I found myself betting Ole Miss a decent amount last year. Therefore, I got to watch Jackson Dart a little bit more. And I got to be honest, I liked what I saw. And coming into the draft, I was like, I think Dart realistically should be the QB behind Cam Ward, the number 2 QB. So I thought the Giants getting him was big. I don't know why they took so long to play him, but here we go. Jackson Dart making his NFL debut at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. 6.5-point favorites on the road, traveling west to east. Do you get concerned about the travel spot? Do you think this is a letdown spot? Is Jackson Dart and the Giants a little bit of a trap in terms of this is a trendy dog this week? What are your thoughts?
I definitely get worried about the spot, not only going west to east, but the fact that they're coming off 3 divisional games to start the season, and they have won all 3 of those divisional games. So I am nervous about that. They are just so well coached, though, Johnny. I think Jim Harbaugh is the best coach in the NFL. I know a lot of people would take Andy Reid. I'm taking Jim Harbaugh, dude. We've completely lost sight of the fact that Rashawn Slater's out for the season. Remember what a big talking point that was in the offseason? Yep. How maybe there were some people who liked the Chargers and then Slater gets hurt and then we're just all done. Do we remember that we would always say chargering? They'd find ways to lose games. Now you watch them at the end of games and you expect them to find ways to win. Like what he has done in already a year and 3 weeks is unbelievable. And Justin Herbert is finally winning with all that talent that he has. And he's an absolute MVP candidate. And I mean, I think the Chargers are competing with the Bills to get that top seed in the AFC. It is a tricky spot though. What's also interesting about this game, Johnny, is the fact that Kansas City was about a 6-point favorite last week against the Giants. So you're pricing this game about the same as the Chiefs game last week. And now you have Dart making his first start against one of the best defenses in the NFL. That's what I quite can't get over. It feels like to me, even with the bad travel spot, I think the Chargers should still be 7, maybe even 7.5. So I do think anything under a touchdown, there is a little value on LA. I think they are a good money line parlay piece this week. I think they're a good teaser look this week. Maybe Dart comes out and he's just awesome and he just lights it up and the Giants get that boost that they've been looking for. But Harbaugh just doesn't lose these games, man. They're so well coached. They win as favorites and they usually cover these games. I could only look to the Chargers. I can't bet the Giants in this spot. Maybe if we get north of 7, potentially. Anything under a touchdown, though, it would have to be the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers is one of my favorite plays of the week. And let's be careful because the first 2 weeks, 2 of my favorite plays were teams laying 6.5 and got backdoored. Arizona against Carolina and Tampa last week against the Jets. So maybe third time's a charm for me. But in all seriousness, I love this spot, and I understand people are hesitant because it's west to east. And listen, that matters for a lot of teams. Like the Rams last week, I didn't take that into as much account because Sean McVay historically has been pretty good. And you have Jim Harbaugh, who's a guy who's been to 3 straight NFC Championship games. This is not his first time around the block. This guy knows how to get his team prepared, make the necessary adjustments. And let's call it what it is, dude. That was the only reason why anybody might even hesitate. I know the Chargers played 3 tough divisional games. They came out on top of all 3. I don't think that's like riding the roller coaster in the higher of their variance. I think this is who they are. They've always had the talent but couldn't put it together because they've had the dumbest people in the world coaching. Brandon Staley was an abomination that couldn't get the most out of his team. Now you bring in Jim Harbaugh, who last year laid such good foundation with great defense, running game, Justin Herbert playing extremely efficient, mistake-free football. And now look what we have this year. The thing of it is, I really like Jackson Dart. I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to make some big plays in this one. That's like, oh yeah, this is why this kid was a high pick. But making your NFL debut against a top 3 PJ defense in the NFL, that's not only talented at all 3 levels, but they play fast, they're aggressive, and they come at you with extreme intensity. That is a very difficult spot. And aside from that, I just don't think the Giants have the weapons. Like, who are you counting on if you're the Giants? Malik Neighbors. Scatterbo, I really liked. He could do some stuff. Wan'Dale Robinson's your 2. I don't see it. Personally, I don't see it. And then the worst part is this. So if you're the Giants, you're 0-3 already. Season's toast. So now you're going to see what you get from Dart. Home against the Chargers. Extremely tough matchup. That is tough for your debut. They go to New Orleans next week. Winnable at New Orleans. Then they come home. They play Philly. Then they go to Denver. Then they go to Philly. Then they come home and play San Francisco. Then they go to Chicago. Then they come home to play Green Bay. Then they go to Detroit. And then they go to New England. And then they have the bye. Which, by the way, they still got to play Washington. They got to play Washington again. And then they got to play Minnesota.
Welcome to the NFL.
It's a tough run.
It is.
I just think the Chargers' talent, top to bottom, coaching. I don't think this is a letdown spot. Jim Harbaugh is just going to have his guys too focused. So I'm on the Chargers -6.5.
I like it. I'm with you. Go Chargers.
How about a revenge spot for my guy Dan Campbell? Washington Commanders going to Atlanta, place he once called home. Now, I was on Atlanta -4.5 last week. If I had it over again, I would do it again. Spot was there. I still don't think how Carolina finished in Arizona in week 2 is necessarily factoring into my handicap. And maybe that was wrong. But I think the reason why I wasn't high on Atlanta coming into this year, the reason why I wasn't like a lot of these other people, they're my NFC South pick. They're a team that can make a run to the NFC Championship game. This team, like a lot of teams that they've had in years past, has a lot of flaws. They have flaws. Washington is a very well-coached team. Jaden Daniels is the big question mark. I don't exactly know what's going on if he's going to play. But even if he doesn't play, there's another guy with a revenge factor, Marcus Mariota, who's going to go, who looked pretty good against Vegas. I know it's a bounce back spot for Atlanta, but I'm on Washington on this one.
I'm leaning the other way. But I think that potentially, I like Atlanta. I think that Mariota is probably going to end up playing. So the Falcons, maybe this game closes as a pick. Maybe Atlanta ends up being a small favorite potentially. Johnny, I just like backing NFL teams that got embarrassed the week before. And the Falcons under Raheem Morris at times have showed an ability to bounce back. Week 1 against Tampa, they had a tough loss. They come back week 2, Sunday night. They take care of the Vikings. That was an awful performance against the Panthers. But Washington's going to have a tough time stopping Bijan and this offense. And I think the Falcons defense will make enough plays on Mariota You're getting the worst of the number. You could have gotten it 3, 2.5 was hanging for a little bit. Now it's at 1, but I still think anything with a plus next to Atlanta, I think if you can get anything with them as a dog, I think would probably be the side that I would lean to.
Look, I think they're going to have a much better effort because you can't really play a lot worse than you did. But look, I believe in Penix. I think Penix is a dog. I think he's him. I just think he had a bad game. And he even said, he goes, I wasn't prepared. They threw things at me that we didn't practice. And because of that, the game scripted, Bijan out. But like, one thing that's kind of concerning me, where is the connection with London? Like Drake London, I expected to have a pretty big year. And it's been pedestrian for a wide receiver one. Other than Bijan, they don't really have anything that's been reliable. And we're on a 3-game sample size. Look, man, to me, it's a concern. I'll be honest. I don't think Atlanta's defense is as good as people think. Atlanta hasn't had a legitimate pass rush since, other than Vic Beasley that 1 year in 2016, since the John Abraham days. We're talking like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Their secondary is better on paper than it is in real life, and AJ Terrell being week to week. I mean, you'd think Atlanta bounces back here, and it's totally possible. I just think Washington has a little bit more continuity, and I think they really have the big edge in coaching.
They do. I do like Dan Quinn. I like his staff as well. I think if they would have lost to Vegas last week, they probably would play Jaden in this game. But winning that game, I think allowed them to maybe sit him again this week and make sure he's good moving forward. So, I really feel like the effort that Washington put in at home against the Vegas team, it was a tough week. You're traveling across country, short week. They really looked at that as the game to get. And this is kind of their free roll. They're obviously playing to win. They're hoping they get the win. But Atlanta is going to be the much more desperate team. They're at home. They know this is a big opportunity, especially if Jaden doesn't play. So I would lean Atlanta.
We're opposite sides. I don't think Dan Quinn goes back to Atlanta and loses, nor does Marcus Mariota. Interesting note about that, though. I saw Dan Orlovsky made an observation. Michael Penix in the pistol. The pistol's killing Michael Penix, he thinks. I could see it. He hasn't looked comfortable. Definitely, it's something to note. All right, big game here. Indianapolis at the LA Rams, 3.5 points. PJ, I'll be honest with you. I didn't think the Colts were necessarily going to be bad coming into this year, but I'm also not of the belief that they're up to the caliber of a 3-0 team. I'm still waiting on that shoe to drop. Jonathan Taylor's real, no doubt. They got some playmakers at receiver. Their defense is okay. But like Daniel Jones, the turnaround. Waiting on that to drop. But I just think right now the way they're playing, getting 3.5, even on the road, against a top-heavy Rams team, I think you got to take the 3.5 here.
It's a tough game, man. Indy, they should have lost to Denver, and then they've played maybe two of the worst teams in the NFL, and the Titans and Dolphins, who are both 0-3. This is the best team they're going to play, no doubt. And they're getting the Rams on the road, who are going to be pissed off after the way that Eagles game ended. Rams have a terrific defense. Their offense is obviously excellent as well. It's going to be a great test for the Colts. My only thing is you're getting, in the NFL, you obviously love to buy low, sell high. And this is peak value right now on Indy. They're the way that they looked again against the Titans, the way that Daniel Jones is playing, the vibe around this team. It just feels like they are last year's Minnesota. Like the way Darnold was playing, the way the Vikings were playing, it just feels like that's Jones and the Colts this year. Like they're that team. So, it's scary because you don't want to fade them with how well they're playing. I don't think I'm going to end up betting this game. I'm excited to watch it. If I had to play though, Johnny, I think I'd probably lean towards the Rams if I had to make a play. But look, I could see why you're on the Colts. They're rolling. They have a ton of confidence. Jones is playing great. And it is a tricky little spot for the Rams flying back. You wonder where they're at against the Eagles, how that loss affects them. But I would probably go with the Rams in this matchup. But man, if if this is one of those like prove it to me games for Indy, right? We all recognize how impressive they've looked, what a great start it is. They go into LA, take care of business, and beat the Rams. I think it would kind of be like what the Lions did to the Ravens. You know, we were like, okay, after the Packers performance, you blow out the Bears, but are you still the team that we saw last year? And they proved, yes, we are. I think that's kind of what this is for the Colts. So that's why it's tough for me to bet. But I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a big litmus test here. I do love the Rams, and I learned I don't like fading them in the playoffs. And I think they're a good team, but I worry about them being top heavy, where they're so reliant on a few guys to really, really carry the boat. But they have not put together 4 good quarters in 3 weeks. They did not play well against Houston. I think Houston lost that game more than the Rams won it. I think the Titans, kind of the same thing. Titans fell apart in the second half. And the Eagles stole one right out of their grasp last week. All right, Peach, last 1 o'clock game we have here. Carolina Panthers at New England Patriots. PJ, I've taught you well, my friend. What is this spot?
This is the Royal Mint right here.
Explain to people what the Royal Mint is.
Well, when you have a 5.5 point spread, when you have the home team favored by 5.5, you always take the dog. So I assume you're going to be on the Panthers in this game, spread and money line.
So Royal Mint for me, the Royal Mint, which you will not find anywhere else. PJ knows this. Started writing this up at NBC years ago. Road dog closing at exactly 5 or 5.5 points. I'm not betting it until closer to Sunday morning to confirm, because we saw the Lions were a Royal Mint spot most of the week, and then the line moved off and closed, I believe, at 4.5. Mm-hmm. Still was on the Lions all week with the spread. So I locked that in. Always locked it in. Carolina, assuming it closes at 5 or 5.5, I will be riding the Panthers plus 5.5. Look, I don't think Carolina is a good team. But much to their credit, after getting this shit kicked out of them in week 1 and virtually doing nothing in the first half of week 2, their last 6 quarters of football, not only have they looked good, but they've been playing hard. They've got juice. They got energy. That is hard to quantify, which is why I was low on Miami, because it's not talent, it's effort level. How do you quantify effort level from a line, from handicapping? It is difficult. Carolina is playing with effort right now. And I think if they continue to do so, they will keep a game close to New England. New England is sort of like Tennessee to a degree. They've got some talent. Obviously, they got a coach who's pretty good, who's had some success. But they're still figuring it out. I think New England laying near a touchdown against anybody right now it's not something I'm looking to bet, even at home.
I agree. That's why I'm torn on this game. I mean, look, the Royal Mint, as you know, you got to respect it. You gotta always take it into account. New England under 8.5 wins was my favorite win total of the offseason. I just can't understand all the love for this team. Johnny, entering the year, Drake May was 1-9 as a starting quarterback.
Mike Vrabel was the favorite for Coach of the Year too.
I mean, we're talking about him and this team like they're going to make why? Like what have they done? And you've already started to see it early on in the season. I mean, if A-Chain doesn't step out, they're 0-3. Look, you make a good point about the Panthers and how well they're playing. And you also make a great point about New England and Drake May, a quarterback you really don't want to lay close to a touchdown with. It would probably be Panthers if I had to play the game. I just don't like betting on a team who's one of the worst teams in football off of a 30-point blowout win. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's scary. And you're getting New England off of a game where they should have beaten Pittsburgh. So I just think that part of it is tough for me to wrap my head around. But we keep just over, like, you see the flashes with Drake May. I get it, but I'm not there, man. I'm not there. Would not shock me if Carolina. Do you get a feeling this is one of those games where either the Panthers win outright or New England covers? Because I think that's kind of what it could be.
It's probably Panthers win outright or New England blows them the fuck out.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Which is why, like, I'm not in a rush to bet it. It's just the 5.5 is alarm bells for me almost 99.99% of the time. Like for instance, the only time I purposely did not take the Royal Mint was when actually I think it was I want to say it was it might have been when the Patriots was when the Colts were plus 5.5 at New England a few years ago and Sam Ellinger started, rookie quarterback. That was like 3 years ago. That was the only time I said no, I'm not touching it. Look, I know some people are, hey, I bet teams, not numbers. I bet numbers, not teams. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of both. For me, this is strictly a play on the number. The second that moves off of 5.5 or 5, I lose interest. PJ, the Jacksonville Jaguars are 3.5 at San Francisco. Let me say this. San Francisco is not the quality of a 3-0 team, in my opinion. This is a team that is extremely lucky to be 3-0. And the fact that they're staring 4-0 in the face right now is insane to me, because they should have lost week 1. They should have lost last week. And then they barely hung on at New Orleans in week 2. Nuts. But Jacksonville, I'm not impressed by what I saw from Jacksonville. They dismantled the Panthers in week 1. They lose in week 2. And then they barely beat Houston, who they had a shot to put away 10 different times in week 3. And I saw an interesting stat. I forget where I saw it. Well, you know how the internet is. It's literally plagiarism. I mean, our college professors would have had a heart attack with the amount of plagiarism that goes on. But the thesis is Shane Waldron seems to be a cancer. Every wide receiver one he's had has sucked. And then the year he leaves, that's when those guys have a breakout. Now, Brian Thomas, we're wondering what's happening with him. Maybe Shane Waldron's his latest victim. I don't think Jacksonville's that good, but neither do I. I don't think San Francisco's that good either. Traveling cross country, though, I think I have to lean with San Francisco if I was going to make a play in this one. I think they're better coached. I still think they have enough talent. They have the best player on the field in Christian McCaffrey. I think they'd find a way here.
I think this is my least favorite game of the week, if I'm being honest with you.
I don't know watching it, but
I have no strong thoughts. Great point about Brian Thomas. His totals up to 62.5. So maybe you continue to take those unders. I don't like Jacksonville, Johnny. I don't like Trevor Lawrence. I've never been a fan. I never understood the hype coming into the NFL. I've never understood people that were still buying in when he had that stretch to close this regular season when he made the playoffs. I've never been a fan. I've never bought in. I don't think he's any good. But yeah, San Francisco, Shanahan as a road favorite tends to not be great. And the Nick Bosa injury is a big deal. Yeah. Looks like Purdy's going to be back. Like this could be just like Arizona again, where they win but don't cover. 3.5 feels about the right line. I will play this game. I won't touch it. But yeah, it'll just kind of give us more data points on the 49ers and Jacksonville. But that's what I'm going to continue to monitor is, does Brian Thomas continue to get neglected, or do they finally start feeding him like last year?
I'll be honest, dude. I have a Brian Thomas offensive player of the year. That was what I was pushing at 35-1 preseason. I thought he was going to have a big year. Mm-hmm. I can be honest. I didn't know about the Shane Waldron curse. Honestly, I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a coincidence at this point because you have a star wide receiver. Why is he not getting 12 targets a game? It literally makes no sense. But I think at this point, you got to keep playing Brian Thomas's unders.
I agree.
Until we see otherwise, I think that's the play. I mean, this guy's getting targeted like 3 times a game. Granted, week 1, he dropped a few passes. It looks like he was a little bit scared to go over the middle. Might maybe get a med care urgent care ball over the middle that he didn't want to take, but just the lack of involvement. At some point, it's not on him. You find a way to get your star receiver the ball. It's like saying it's Malik Neighbors' fault that Russell Wilson didn't throw him the ball last week. Like, no, you throw your guy the ball. All right, this is the one we're waiting for here. Ravens at the Chiefs. PJ, I know you are a big Baltimore Ravens fan. Mm-hmm. So take your fanhood out of it, which you do very well. You separate fanhood, objectivity, and subjectivity. Why are the Baltimore Ravens pushing a 3-point favorite status at Kansas City. Minus 118, 2.5 on FanDuel right now, tipping towards that field goal price. Is this a correct line?
I think so. I think it is. They should be favored. I think 2.5 is a fair price, but Kansas City is my favorite bet of the week. I got an early 3. Johnny, I don't know how you can bet Baltimore in this game. Like, look, as a Ravens fan, I can tell you, there are 3 places when they go on the road. It's all mental. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. When they go to those 3 places, especially when we get to the fourth quarter, they're different teams. They tense up. They're not the same. They get tight. And this is going to be a 1-score game. I know people are going to talk this week about this matchup, and they're going to talk about how explosive the Ravens could be and how underwhelming the Chiefs have been so far. And there's a chance that the Ravens could blow them out. Theoretically, they could. But they're not going to. This is going to be a close game. The Ravens haven't won an Arrowhead since 2012. Lamar's never beaten Mahomes in Kansas City. Like, the Ravens are not going to make this easy on themselves. They just don't do that against these kind of teams. So I love the Chiefs in a teaser because this is going to be a 1-score game either way. I think 8.5 is the teaser leg of the week. Whatever else you want to take in your parlay, make sure KC plus 8.5 is in there. But Johnny, let me just ask you this, okay? For people that want to bet this game. I really believe this is going to be a 1-score game. You're sitting there watching the game, 5 minutes left, fourth quarter. Do you trust the trio of Lamar, John Harbaugh, or Zach Orr? Or do you trust Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, or Steve Spagnuolo to try and find a way to win that game?
Ladder.
And that's what it comes down to, man, in these kind of games. Can I tell you what the difference between the Ravens and these like other elite teams are? A couple weeks ago, when Philadelphia went to Kansas City, they needed a first down to ice the game. The Eagles got that first down. That's the difference. The Ravens don't get that first down because we saw it against Buffalo. They didn't get the first down. And that's the problem. So, look, could the Ravens win the game? Sure. Would I ever bet them to? No chance. Until they prove it to me, I can't. It is such a good spot for them, Johnny, because everybody thinks they suck. The entire fan base hates them. They think we suck. The defense is a mess. They have no pass rush. But that's what kills them in a game like this. When you have no pass rushers, nobody is better at buying time than Mahomes. And even though they don't have any real threats at receiver, I mean, he's just going to buy so much time back there and kill you with those back-breaking third downs. So, look, man, I like the Chiefs. The Ravens are better. They should be favored in the game. But the Chiefs they're going to find a way to win because that's what happens when the Ravens go up against Kansas City, man. They find ways to beat them.
I mean, look, we could take into account, well, what is Lamar and Henry going to do against this KC defense? How are they going to move the ball, get the explosive plays? How is Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, looks like he's getting Xavier Worthy back this week, how is he going to be able to exploit the Ravens secondary like a lot of these other offensives have? Fine, fair point. That's all good fodder. You know what it comes down to? Simply put, at the end of the day for me, there are only been a handful of time, and when I say handful of times where you get Patrick Mahomes with a plus sign in front of that number.
At home.
At home nonetheless.
Yes.
That's all I need. That's all I need. Mahomes at home as a dog. Forget Ravens, short week. They just gave up 38. Lamar looks like he's been stuck in first gear, got sacked 7 times. Derrick Henry's looks like he's got a bit of the yips right now. Like, forget all that. Mahomes as an underdog. It's almost like, remember in 2020 when Tom Brady had like those 2 or 3 years where he just couldn't fucking beat New Orleans to save his life? They just had his number. Mm-hmm. This is it. Because, like you said, this is a psychological spot. Every time these two teams place, it's always somehow Kansas City taking over. And Baltimore, I think, has the better roster.
Definitely.
But just something about this game that they can't deliver.
And I've been telling that to everybody, and they're like, but Baltimore, they're so much better, and Kansas City looks so bad. And my rebuttal is, Have you seen the last 4 or 5 years what happens when the Ravens go into Pittsburgh? Like, all those Ravens teams are better than the Steelers teams of the last 4 or 5 years. But Pittsburgh finds a way to muck it up. They force turnovers. The Ravens have these penalties. Like, Johnny, it's not talked about enough. The Ravens in these big games, they don't force turnovers. It's unbelievable. They didn't force one against the Lions. They didn't force one against the Bills in week 1. They like never force them in the playoffs. They just don't force turnovers. And in these kinds of games, when you don't give your team extra possessions and you're the one usually turning the ball over, it's a backbreaker. So as a fan, I'm obviously hoping I'm wrong. I hope the Ravens get the win. But like you said, it's Mahomes at home with the plus sign. The Chiefs just have their number, and they're just going to find a way. I will say one other thing. My favorite prop of the week, Lamar Jackson over 7.5 rush attempts.
I like it.
Whenever he's played Kansas City, Johnny, he's never had fewer than 8. Last year, when he played the Chiefs in week 1, he had 16 carries. Josh Allen, whenever he plays the Chiefs, always goes over his rushing attempts. When Allen and Mahomes play Kansas City, that's the game that they want. They want it. They do whatever it takes to try and win that game, and they will go all out. And after having 7 sacks against Detroit last week, Lamar, I think, is going to have he's going to be a little more tentative, take off maybe more than he would. And with Derek fumbling, I think that could play a part, maybe him running a little bit more. So I think 7.5 is a great number. I saw that and I immediately hit it. So I like over 7.5 rush attempts.
I like that. I think that's solid. Let me ask you a question. Did Lamar look off to you on Monday physically? Like, why?
Yeah.
He looked hesitant. There was a couple times where he could have stepped up and avoided the sack. So, like, listen, here's the problem that people look like on the box score. He got sacked 7 times, but I'd say at least 3, maybe 4 were on him, where he was sitting back there. And look, that's what happens when you have a guy that 99 out of 100 can get away from that and find a way to get free. But, like, there was times where he just looked a little timid in hitting the gas, getting out of the backfield, accelerating. It looked like he couldn't get out of first gear. And granted, like, he had some plays where, like, he was able to shake some defenders, but I can't be the only one that saw that, right?
Did seem a little off. It's
been
who knows? I mean, they're not disclosing anything. If it is, they won't say anything. Yeah, he did look a little off. It's interesting, man. Lamar has really tried to make himself a pocket passer. Like, he runs if it's the absolute last resort. And, games like that, you just wish he'd take off and even just get 4 or 5 yards just to keep it manageable. Especially, problem with the Ravens, Johnny, in those kind of games is when they feel like when they're only down 7, to them, they feel like they're down 20 and they just abandon the run. And that's always been my biggest issue is Derrick Henry only had 11 carries in that game. And I understand he fumbled in the 4th quarter and everything like that, but you just completely abandoned the run. The Ravens stuffed Detroit's run game in the first 2-3 series, and they continued to stick with it, and it ended up being the turning point in the game. Yeah. Was they just wore them down and they continue to run, and that's what the Ravens don't do, and it's why they don't win these big games is because they just abandon the run. And it's something that Lamar just has to do. But yeah, he just didn't quite look like himself. I'm with you. I don't know what was up, but he just didn't feel like he was him.
Yeah, that's something that I'm keeping my eye on. But it is worth noting, I think, Derrick Henry, it's what made him so great in Tennessee. Even the 4th quarter, that dude's getting the ball, and you know it. So, I mean, I feel like ultimately, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you got to be giving the king the ball. I know he's got a couple big 4th quarter fumbles, but look, man, he's still a Hall of Fame running back. So, gotta ride the horse. All right, we got a few more here. Chicago at Vegas. I don't have much. I'm not rushing to bet this. It's not a crazy travel spot, even though you got to go west of Vegas. I'd probably lean the Bears, though. I think the Bears have a lot more weapons. I feel like, at least from Ben Johnson's perspective, saw some positive signs against Dallas. Granted, CeeDee Lamb doesn't get hurt. We don't know what that game looks like. But, still put up 31 points. I think I'm probably very slightly leaning Chicago, but I'm probably not going to touch this game.
I like the Raiders in the game, Johnny. I think I have Chicago nailed. I like them a lot. They were one of my favorite picks last week against Dallas because I just knew that the Bears as a franchise would like suck back in their fans. They would give them hope. Right after those first two games, everybody was out. They're calling for Bajan to take over for Caleb. People think Ben Johnson's not the guy. And then, now they beat Dallas and all of a sudden it's, wow, Caleb looked really good. I'm all in on Ben John. Maybe there's something there. Maybe the Bears, maybe they're not as bad as we thought. So the Bears are just one of those teams that the perception can never get them right. When everybody's ready to turn on them, that's when they play well. And then when people are ready to buy back in, that's when you should get out. And it's a nice spot for the Raiders. Blowout performance against Washington, come back home. Geno should be able to put up some points against this defense. Both these defenses are not good. So yeah. I do like the Raiders here at home. They would be my pick on the money line.
Listen, I can be influenced on this one because I don't really have a strong feel. I said this last week. There's some middle of what Geno looked like in week 1 versus what he looked like in week 2. He's not as bad. I mean, he just absolutely moronic the way he played against the Chargers.
Yeah.
Which was awful down here. But I don't think he's that bad. Played pretty well overall against the Patriots in week 1, right? But I don't think he's that good. I think he's somewhere in the middle. I think this could be that kind of game. Trey Tucker's emerging into a stud, by the way. Mm-hmm. Waiting on to see what's going on with Ashton Genty. Really haven't seen that pop from him. And that was one thing I was a little concerned about coming into the year. But nonetheless, he might be the new Kyron Williams. A lot of volume. Green Bay at Dallas. Sunday night, this would have been a really good game. You're going to have to explain to me what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. And I'm not saying this as a fantasy owner, but I had Lamb and some props this week. What are you doing? Putting your star wide receiver 1 lined up at tailback, running a stretch play. What are you doing? What's happening here? What's going on?
Is anybody going to be on Dallas in this game?
No, why would you? I mean, it's not even recency bias. Like if you don't have Lamb, what are you going to do? Green Bay pissed away a fourth quarter 10-point lead. They got big broed, like they got manhandled. Plus, it's a Micah Parsons revenge game, which I mean, props might take 5 sacks from Micah Parsons in this one.
Sure,
but Green Bay is going to be able to run the ball. Jordan Love, it's a bounce back all around, even on the road.
Oh, yeah.
I like Green Bay, dude. If CeeDee Lamb doesn't play, which I think he's going to go on IR, it's not official yet. Where is Dallas going to put up the numbers? Where are they going to put up the points? And then where are they going to be stopping Green Bay?
I mean, look, just look at what the last 2 quarterbacks have done against Dallas. Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards on this defense.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams threw for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns on this defense. I mean, Jordan Love should have a field day. He should light up this Dallas defense. So I mean, look, I'm with you. It would only be Green Bay for me. I think a Green Bay team total over is a good look too, man. This Dallas defense is as bad as we thought it would be when they traded Micah. It's maybe even worse. We all said they would be the NFC Cincinnati, and they're playing the part. They're certainly looking like it. So it's yeah. I mean, look, the only way you lose this bet with Green Bay is if they just turn the ball over. If they just have fumbles, if Love throws interceptions, if Dallas, has some special teams plays, if it's just one of those games where they're just doing everything an underdog needs to do to hang around and pull off an upset. But at least with Cleveland last week, like they had an elite unit to keep it close with the defense. I mean, Dallas is a good offense and they should be able to put up points, but man, that Packers pass rush is solid and their D is really good. So yeah, it would only be Packers or pass for me. I don't know how you can bet Dallas in the game.
Interestingly enough, in this one, give me one reason why we wouldn't be looking at Jordan Love over 228.5 pass yards.
That's the number. Yeah, that
There's
seems low.
There's a 227.5, 226.5 on Bet Rivers. I mean, am I missing something, or do the books think Josh Jacobs is going to have one of those like 20 plus carry games and get like $140 on the ground?
That's got to be it. I think the only way, like if you're worried about that bet not hitting, I think the way to hedge it is like Josh Jacobs' longest rush over. You know what I mean? Like something, because like you said, I mean, I don't know if you're Green Bay, how you don't watch the film the last 2 weeks, what Caleb and Russell Wilson have done, and you don't air it out. I know your receiving core is depleted, but man, I mean, Golden should have a big day. Wicks, Kraft, Jacobs receiving. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like they should be able to put up some yards.
Well, they don't have any sack props, I don't think yet. But we're gonna be. Micah Parsons is minus 144 to record a sack. I think that might be I'm not a big sack prop guy, but I think that might be the easiest bet of the week.
A lot of people going to be on that. Yeah.
I know, but I mean, look, listen, this is one of those things I'd be fine laying and losing. But then if I don't take it, it's like, dude, it was free. It was free, literally free.
Yeah.
So how are we not going to do it? We got our boy Sia. I love Sia. Miss you, buddy. Golden over 36.5 yards. I like it. Ladder talking me into it. I think it's fair, man. I think it's all systems go for Green Bay. I do. And it's Sunday night in the Dome. Clear skies, clear weather, no outside conditions to impact it. I think it's
a good look.
Yeah, and Green Bay is going to tip to 7. I think in the next day or so. I think Green Bay is going to be tipping 7. So I would be looking at grabbing them now at 6.5 rather than wait, because I'd be surprised if this gets down from 6.5 to 6. There is a 7 on DK, but the 6.5 is on FanDuel. Looks like it's about to tip. I mean, Peach, if we're cooking up a same game parlay here, buddy, I think we're taking Green Bay minus 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be looking at Jordan Love 250 pass yards. I think I'd be looking at Micah Parsons to record a sack.
Golden over receiving.
Golden, absolutely. Golden over Golden's 38.5 now on here. Golden over 38.5 here. And
maybe like Dak pass attempts or something like that. I mean, they're going to be trailing, right? Got to be throwing, something like that.
What's the pass attempts here? 37.5. No thanks.
Yeah, that's high. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe rushing. There's no rushing. Jacobs 19.5
for longest rush.
No attempts, but longest rush for Jacobs is 12.5. I think it's probably good.
Yeah. Oh, it's only 12.5 for his longest rush.
You can't even parlay that. But if you took Jacobs' attempts, which you can also,
12.5 feels low.
It does feel low.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be 8-11 plus 8-11. Might have to cook up a little Sunday nighter. It's good to know, because like if you're chasing your losses on Sunday and you have one game left on the night and you don't want to wait till Monday and you got to cook something up, it's good to like think ahead of like what you might be looking at. Mm-hmm. 36.5 is on FanDuel. It's 38.5 now. See ya. Just checked. So lines are moving. I think Golden's probably good to 45, because with him it's one big play.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to move the ball down. They're going to push the ball downfield. All right. Stinker on Monday. First game back to Monday Nighters. It is Jets at Dolphins. I think I'd probably lean Miami, but I don't love it. Look, I think the Jets play with some energy in the fourth quarter. But I'll be honest, man, I don't care what people think when I say this. I think Vegas was trying to keep that one within 7, because they were doing everything they can to make sure the Jets covered. There was the fourth down touchdown in the fourth quarter to Alan Lazard.
Yeah.
That ball hit the ground. They reviewed it. That ball hit the ground, and they didn't overturn it. Emeka Egbuka on a sick one-handed catch where he clearly got 2 feet in, and they reviewed it, still didn't call it a catch, where that would have put them at like the 20-yard line, where they could have kicked the field goal. or went for the touchdown, whatever, and covered. Like it looked like they were trying to keep the Jets in it to cover that spread. So for me, I don't really have a feel on this one. Maybe Miami. They played with some intensity and more energy. The effort level has gone up the last couple weeks for them. That's the only thing. I think Miami at home 2.5. That's probably where I'd go, but it's not like a confident play. I'm probably not doing anything here.
I don't think I'd play this game either. I think it is an advantage for the Jets that it's a primetime game. We always talk about September in Miami, what an advantage that is, that the other team, the other sideline gets baked in the sun, like New England did. So the Jets don't have to deal with that, which is definitely a plus for them. I think the over might be my look, Johnny. Both defenses stink, dude. I mean, they're terrible. So I think the Dolphins could put up points. I think the Jets are going to be able to put up some points too. Kind of think over 45 might be a play. Like a 27-21 type game, somewhere in that neighborhood. It might be like that Jets-Bucks game last week where it starts off a little slow and then you see some points in the second half, fourth quarter kind of thing. But I think I would probably lean to the over 45 if I had to make a play.
Let me ask you a question because I like this, and I think people like to take advantage of a double dip Monday nighter, a little like touchdown parlay.
Yeah.
I think I've seen enough. Ollie Gordon, he's pushing plus 300. It just looks like McDaniel's going to put this guy in at the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
If you got, unless you're Achane and you score from 15, 20 plus yards out, Ollie Gordon's been getting the cracks at the goal line.
I like that.
Plus 295 is a little too big in my opinion. So I think I'd probably be looking at him, maybe Breece Hall. I think Tyreek's interesting now. But the only reason why, Buffalo was leading and Miami was trailing for a decent amount of that game, so they had to start throwing the ball. But Tyreek started to look like himself again. So maybe we go Breece Hall and Ollie Gordon, little running back double dipper here. Possibly. I like the Ollie call. Yeah. So I saw somebody, you never know with these fake tickets floating around, but I saw somebody first drive touchdown score Ravens, first drive touchdown score Lions, parlayed.
Mm-hmm.
Gibbs and Henry was like 80-1.
Wow.
Might do something along those lines here.
Yeah.
First touchdown scores, these two running backs.
That's a fun.
That's
like
fun,
that.
Right?
First,
that's
fun.
Yeah. It's quick too. It's quick. You don't have to wait the whole game for it. So
I like it.
Probably be cooking up some shit like I'm Chef JohnnyVTV here on this Monday night. Last game we have here. I know it's been a minute. Bengals Broncos 7.5. Let's disregard what happened to Cincinnati. Let's disregard that. You're facing a defense that is of similar caliber in Denver on the road in a very tough place to play. What on earth would possess somebody to take the Bengals, even getting 7.5?
Well, I think it's a brutal spot for the Broncos because they're coming off two demoralizing losses. The Colts loss, just brutal. Chargers loss, brutal. And, I don't think you can forget the Bengals loss because they're coming off of a 40-point drubbing. They got annihilated. It's one thing if you lose by 10 and it's really never a game, or you lose by 14, but it's never in question. They lost by 40.
Yeah.
Browning was awful. So look, we saw Denver could be 3-0 this season for sure. We've seen him play one home game against a terrible Tennessee team, and Tennessee was hanging around for a while. Yeah. Now I understand Tennessee has a decent defense, and Cincinnati one of the worst in the league. I am leaning Cincinnati here plus the points because I just think that off of getting annihilated like that against Minnesota, I think they're going to play well in this game. This kind of reminds me, Johnny, a little bit of that Browns-Broncos game from Monday night last year, where it was Jameis and the Browns. They go in there. It's like a similar spread against the top defense. Nobody's expecting him to hang around. And it's kind of right. Jameis is a gunslinger and he's throwing to these receivers, and it's kind of Browning in the it's the same type thing. I just got a feeling that the Bengals are going to keep this game close, man. Denver, I mean, two brutal losses in a row to the Colts and the Chargers. So I do worry about them. I do worry about them a little bit.
I think the big difference in that is like Cleveland at least had some playmakers on defense. Outside of Trey Hendrickson, that they really don't have anybody. I do get a bit worried. I understand the Broncos theory there, and their defense has not lived up to the billing.
No, they've not.
Surtain's been getting dog walked a little bit. Completely understand it, and maybe the Bengals just like packed it in because Jamar Chase saw some all 22. He looked like he just didn't want to be there. But they have no running game, man. Chase Brown's been non-existent, and I think a lot of it has to do with the line and Burrow not being there. They don't respect the pass game, so they're just banking on the run. I get that Cincinnati still has some big-time playmakers. The fact that their defense is so bad. It gets so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, some of these spots, like you would think, hey, you know what? Cincinnati, they got their teeth kicked in. It's a bounce back. They got to at least keep it close. But I think matchup-wise, it doesn't favor them. And I could be wrong. I just think at home in Denver, like Denver's got to get a win, dude. Denver's lost 2 close games, 2 games that they realistically should have won. I just think they're going to come out on fire. They're 1-2 when they should be 3-0.
Yeah,
at least 2-1. Like I don't think they're gonna leave anything to the chance here. I think they're coming out guns blazing, ass kickings a brewing. That's what I'm expecting from Denver on Monday night.
They could. And look, I mean, they were great in these spots last year. You know, they beat up on teams that they should have. They were great as favorites and they won a lot of those games. They're well coached. It's obviously a tough place to win a game, especially in prime time. I just think this is one of those gut check games for the Bengals. You know, like it was the first full game after the Burrow injury. And like you said, Jamar Chase, the body language was just not good from Cincinnati, and that game was over early. So now it's, okay, look, I mean, Burrow's out. Like it is what it is, but the incentive, the motivation is that he can come back if we're in striking distance. And the Ravens have a chance to go 1-3. We know the Browns aren't making the playoffs. The Steelers aren't very good. Like we have a chance here, maybe. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of effort we get out of Cincinnati and what they look like. But right now, I would lean towards them.
That's fair. So let's play out this little parlay here on DK right now, because that's what's offered. If we parlayed Breece Hall, Ollie Gordon, I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. If Cincinnati's going to have a chance to stay in this one, I think he's going to have to get in the end zone and have a big game. I don't care how good Patrick Surtain was last year. He hasn't looked like the same player. Even still, this is Jamar Chase over Surtain. I'll take that as long as Jake Browning's got a little bit of time to throw. You know what my sprinkle is here? Who I'd be willing to throw in the parlay? Maybe use the ghost leg on DK. For that second Monday night game to score? Troy Franklin. That's the sleeper here. That parlay is just under 65-1. I think if you're Denver, you're going to be taking some shots down the field. And Troy Franklin is one of those guys that you take a shot down the field to. He had a touchdown against Indy. He wasn't really involved much last week. I mean, he only had 4, but, you know, look, the Chargers defense is different than Cincinnati's defense. But that's one I'd be looking into. That's one that I think is worth a ghost leg on DK if you're able to play that.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, look, we got to find a way to keep ourselves entertained during those Monday night games, right? So there'll be some TD parlays flying for sure.
Yeah. PJ, I really appreciate you joining tonight. It was an absolute blast to have you. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, man. I'm on the BetMGM network. Send it in weekdays, Monday through Fridays, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. Twitch, YouTube, X at the BetMGM network. It's a 30-minute show, no commercials, and it's interactive. So, you know, it's like this. People listen to the show. They chime in, questions, comments, bets that they like. And we dive into everything. So obviously a lot of NFL, bunch of college football, Going to talk some Ryder Cup, which starts on Friday. We got MLB postseason coming up next week. So great time of year in sports, and catch me every day, 1:00 on BetMGM Network.
Love it, PJ. You are truly one of the best in the business. Real quick question on baseball.
Yes, sir.
Why have you? AL MVP. Cal Raleigh looks like he just hit his 59th.
Yeah, dude.
Or are we going Aaron Judge?
I think it should be Raleigh, but I think Judge is
Really?
going to win. Yeah, I do.
Why? 60 home
Because, yeah, dude. I mean, Seattle's always had the pitching. They've always had the pitching to contend. But now that they have that MVP caliber bat, I think that he needs to be recognized for that. They're going to win the division. The Yankees still could, but I think you got to reward that. So, I mean, Judge has all the stats. He has all the metrics. He would be a deserving winner, but I think I'd give it to Raleigh, man.
I still give it to Judge. I think the home runs and the RBIs were great, but when Raleigh's not a complete hitter. You have Judge batting.
Who's your World Series pick, real quick?
Dude, to be honest, I haven't really like fallen in love with anybody.
Same.
If I'm being honest, it's shaky this year. If I'm being honest, I haven't fallen in love with anybody. But to be fair, I think I'm still riding with the team that I had along with the Texas Rangers to win the American League. And that was Boston. I think Boston's going to have the juice this year. I don't buy Toronto. No. I will not buy Seattle. Like Seattle, I bet on in 2022 and 2023, and they let me down in both years because it's the same thing. They always had the pitching. Their hitting was always iffy. Obviously, they didn't have Raleigh doing what he was doing. But the problem with Seattle's offense in the postseason, they strike out too much. You cannot be a big strikeout team in the postseason. You can deal with that for 162, but you need to put the ball in play. That's not something they've historically done. Yankees, I thought their shot was last year. Brewers, always choke. Toronto, I don't think they have the roster. Cubs, I don't think they have the pitching. Padres, I thought their shot was last year. Mets, if they make it, they always find a way to lose. Tigers, I wasn't big on. I mean, Scooble's a dog. I just don't feel like the Tigers have the guy on offense. Like they're a good team to win a series, maybe two, but I just don't think they have enough juice. Guardians, same thing. Astros 35-1 is appealing because you can never
if they make it. If they make it,
you can never count out Houston.
I agree, dude. I think the Dodgers might just go back to back. To be honest,
they could.
I agree with everything you're saying. It's almost process by elimination.
Yeah,
and now Philly is favored to win the National League without Wheeler, and I'm like, that's
the thing. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
As soon as Zach Wheeler went out, I said that there goes Philly. Philly had a chance to win the World Series a few years ago, and then they had a chance to get back to the World Series 2 years ago. You lose Zach Wheeler. Here's the thing in playoff baseball. It's not just you're losing a talented pitcher and who are you replacing him with, because Philly has a deep, talented pitching staff, but you're losing the guy.
Yes.
You're losing.
Always great in the postseason.
Always great. You're losing an ace. You cannot replace that. Agreed. You are losing the guy and an ace. So I don't think Philly's – I think without Wheeler, like Philly was the big team that was standing in LA's way.
Agreed.
Now without Wheeler, personally, I think it's probably going to be Boston, LA.
That's why I think this postseason is so good, Johnny, because Philly's favored to win the NL and Seattle is favored to win the AL, and it's two teams that I want no part of. So, like, I kind of think the Mets are interesting if they can get in. Like, to me, it's Texas from a couple years ago where they're just limping. But if they get in, it's just like a team that like you don't want to see. So I kind of think they're a little intriguing if they can get in. The American League, I mean, you're right about Boston. I kind of agree with you about Houston. Like if they get in, I mean, that's the team that nobody wants to see. So I can't wait. It's going to be a fun October.
Yeah, I'll probably throw some futures in there, but I just feel like the Red Sox 18-1. Give me a team in the American League that's really head and shoulders above Boston.
Yeah.
Last but not least, my boy Cade Horton. Here's a who.
We're all over that.
What are we doing? He's got to be the NL Rookie of the Year, right?
Has to.
Is there any scenario where you think Baldwin should get it?
I mean, look, I'm not voting on the award. I'll be praying. I'll be wishing you well But he should win. His
I
numbers.
begged you to take it.
You did.
So I took Cade Horton about a month ago, 25-1. And I said, I put PJ and Femi from You Better You Bet in a group chat. And I said, boys, jump in. The water's warm. I'm not getting involved. I said, dude, you got and PJ really learned some college baseball wizardry from me.
I did.
And who was one of the first incubator guys that I taught you about?
Cade Horton, Oklahoma. Cade
Horton, here's a who.
That's right.
It was disgusting that you left me hanging and didn't take him with me. I can't believe you. By the way, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable.
I had to save for NFL and college season.
I get it. But to be fair, whether it wins or not,
a hell of a bet. I mean, you make that bet 100 times out of 100. So
100 out of 100.
Yeah.
And that's what getting college baseball.
You did your job. The voters just have to do their job.
Yeah. And it's nice because Drake Baldwin gets to have 5 at-bats every single game. He's facing AA pitching against Washington.
Yeah.
Give him a good, last week plus. Pissing me off. Mm-hmm. But in any case, everybody, we went a little long tonight. Really appreciate you hanging on. TBD on Sunday. Check Twitter. I will be traveling this weekend. So the Sunday show is up in the air. If we don't have a show, stay tuned on Twitter. Follow the Discord, subscribe. It's still $200 for the regular and postseason. Bounce back week coming, and you're gonna get all my plays for the week. And PJ, we know you're giving out that good stuff. You're always giving out winners, my friend.
I try, bro. I try. Yeah. College this week.
What do you got?
Penn State money line.
Okay.
Auburn money line. Like them outright. Illinois +7 and Utah State +22.5 against Vandy. Probably my favorites.
I like it. You heard it here first.
There you go.
PJ, you are a true gentleman and a gem.
Johnny,
thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you later.